What's going on, you guys? It's Ginger on Wheels here. Today we are all heroes because we're testing HeyBike's latest electrically wheeled gadget, the HeyBike Hero e-bike. This thing has a carbon fiber frame. It's meant for off-roading. It's got really thick 4-inch knobbly tires. This is a pre-production unit. It does not have a taillight, but I guess they didn't have those finished by the time that they made this bike, so we just got stuck with the regular HeyBike display and bars. This particular model has a 1,000 watt rear hub motor, and I'm gonna try my best to look like the guy on the advertisement and do some crazy off-roading just to start things off. You can hear that big clang from the suspension because there is no rebound damping. It does have quite a bit of torque though. 100 Newton meters of torque, allegedly. I haven't ridden this thing yet, and either have you, because they're not even out yet. So let's go ahead and go for a ride together, and I'll tell you everything I can figure out about this thing. But first, let's roll the intro. This is our top speed test, full charge on the HeyBike Hero. Switch it into 9th gear, full throttle. I'm definitely assisting with the pedals right now. Looks like about 32 miles per hour. 33? I believe advertised top speed was 35, so that's pretty close. I do weigh 230 pounds with all my gear. So we're out on the HeyBike Hero. Like I mentioned, this is the 1,000 watt rear hub motor version. I'm really digging these 4-inch wide knobby tires. They make going down this crazy trail pretty easy. My first complaint about this thing right out of the gate, the rebound damping on the suspension, or lack thereof. There is none. You can adjust the compression, how hard it is to compress the suspension, but it'll just pop back up to full with maximum force, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you get those big clangs when you go over bumps. Let's see if we can get another one. Oh yeah, here, listen. Yeah. Donk, donk. They cheaped out on the suspension and kind of missed the mark on that one. I do kind of feel like the guy on the advertisement though. This is a really steep hill. We're gonna try and go up this hill. I'm 230 pounds. This 1,000 watt rear hub motor version has 100 Newton meters of torque. And there's a 750 watt mid-drive motor version of this bike that has almost 60% more torque. So we're gonna see if the 1,000 watt motor version can get up this hill. And we rattled our headlight loose. Good thing I brought my tools. So this bike comes in 2 versions. It's got the trapeze version. That's the version that has a top crossbar like this. And this is the step-through version, so I don't have to swing my leg over the seat. In case you're not very flexible, or if you're older, if you just don't feel like it, like me, you can just put your foot through here and mount the bike like that. All right. Okay, we're gonna try our best to go up this hill. First, I'm gonna use just the motor and see if we can make it up that. I don't think we will, but if we can't, then I'll reduce the gears and I'll start pedaling with it. So this is just the 1,000 watt rear hub motor with 100 Newton meters of alleged torque. Slowing down dramatically, but not gonna lie, doing much better than I thought it would. All right, I'm assisting with pedals now. Yeah, I don't think, well, wow, these big tires really make it a lot easier to go over stuff, I will say. Let's reduce the gears here a little bit. I've got a 9-speed Shimano shifter over here. It only has gears on the rear. It actually did pretty well up that super steep hill, I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting a full stall out. The 750 watt mid-drive motor would definitely make it up that. It's got 60% more torque, or just about. But this 1,000 watt rear hub motor is not doing bad at all. I feel like I can go over just about anything with these tires. I sort of feel like an all-terrain vehicle. Well, I guess I am. From a comfort standpoint, they did a great job on this bike. I feel like they missed a huge, big opportunity though with the suspension. If they had put better quality suspension on it with rebound damping, it would be a lot better. We have got one rear air shock and then motorcycle style fork shock in the front with hydraulic and springs. And you can adjust the compression on the front. No adjustments on the back, except for you can adjust the amount of air inside the shock, but you need a special pump for that they do not include with the bike, or at least they didn't with mine with this pre-production version. I'll bet you that motor is getting pretty hot. This is full throttle for the record. Much easier for it on the flat stuff. Very easy to shift the gears, I like that. If I'm not mistaken, they allege there is a torque sensor on this bike that will learn about how you ride and adjust the power output depending on the terrain and how hard you're pedaling, but I'm really not feeling that. I can't tell at all if there is one. The HeyBike Braun had one, it did a pretty good job, but on this HeyBike Hero, I can't really tell. Wow, I can tell that there's giant tires on the thing though. Makes riding on bumpy, crazy off-road terrain so easy. Nice turning radius on this bike. We're gonna go down the road that's always crazy and filled with construction though, because it's a lot more fun. Oh wow. The gyroscopic effect of these big tires is nice. It wants to keep the bike upright all by itself. It's kind of like hard to push over. That's cool. Major bonus there. I guess that might be the fact on most fat tire e-bikes, so I'm just used to little tiny scooter bikes. And when you take that into account, little tiny scooter bikes that is, like the eMove Roadrunner Pro, you really got to consider your use case for the bike. This thing does have a really long advertised range. I'm not really in the mood to test it, but I can tell you with a 48 volt system and 1,000 watts for a very efficient cruising, it's gonna have a really good range. And it's got that removable, swappable battery. If you need that feature, you got it. The eMove Roadrunner Pro, while it is much faster and cheaper, you blast through the battery on that thing like no tomorrow, especially when you're in the dual motor mode. So as you may or may not know, I'm about 6'2", 230 pounds, and I can tell you confidently that this bike does fit me well. It's not one of those bikes where they say it'll fit taller riders and then it actually is just way too small. So you don't have to worry about that. Impressive torque, and top speed is around 32-ish with no pedaling. Closer to 34 or 35 if I'm pedaling though. It's got an 864 watt-hour battery, which is generally on the pretty small side, but it's only running at 48 volts, and it does have the fact that you can pedal assist it. It's got really good range for a bike of this size. My favorite part about this bike, by a wide margin, no pun intended, is how wide the tires are. They're huge 4-inch wide knobbly tires. You can actually run the thing at 20 PSI. That's the maximum recommended PSI for the tires, so you get a nice squishy ride on top of the suspension, which isn't the greatest, but hey, suspension is suspension. The design itself is really nice on this thing. It's very pleasing to the eyes. And if you're the kind of person who likes to show off that you have the latest and greatest electrically wheeled gadget, I think I could justify the price tag. It's a really sexy bike. It's comfortable. We're at about 70% battery now. Top speed is still at 29 miles per hour. Ooh, kind of sent me off the seat over that speed bump. The suspension is not the best. I keep saying that. My biggest gripe with this thing is the suspension. They missed the mark on that. If they had upgraded the suspension and added rebound damping, this thing would be much better. Like I said earlier though, these are not the bars that are gonna come on the bike. This is a pretty standard HeyBike bar setup. So it's gonna be even sexier than this pre-production model. I think if you're gonna get this bike, if you're gonna buy it for retail price, definitely go for the 750 watt mid-drive motor. It's got a little more speed, 60% more torque, and the same frame. Oh, this is really cool. I can just go through the bumpiest, grassiest crap, and I don't even have to think about it because of these tires and suspension. I haven't been able to do that on any other e-gadget. Just send it right through that grassy patch. I would expect a faceplant immediately on a scooter or a little e-bike like the Roadrunner Pro. This thing is it feels like I'm riding a tank on tracks. The tires are just so ginormous. As you can see here, or maybe not, we have got a quarter twist throttle, so you can pedal and the bike will assist you as you're pedaling. It'll adjust the amount of power in pretty incremental modes. It seems like there's like a low, medium, and high mode based on how fast you're pedaling. But it's also got a quarter twist throttle here. If you don't feel like pedaling at all, you can just twist the throttle. You can twist it just like a motorcycle and you got all the power right at your fingertips. If you're lazy like me, you don't feel like pedaling. This is cool. I love blasting through the off-road stuff and not having to worry about it. I've got a red button over here on the left underneath the handlebars. Little horn. Pretty cool stuff. I'm also really digging this sensor here. You can see it says 19 and 19. That's the PSI in the front and rear tires. This is a little gadget I got from pidzoom.com. You can screw a sensor into the valve of your tires and it'll read the PSI for you and it'll start beeping. It's got an alarm if the PSI gets too low. Very nice. Okay, so let me just demonstrate for you the torque sensor, or alleged torque sensor. So I'm gonna put just a baby amount of pressure on the pedals and you can hear how fast the bike will accelerate. Okay, just putting a little baby amount of pressure. Let me put it in speed mode 1 and do the same thing. Like, I'm not even putting any pressure on the pedals. I'm just rotating them. And the bike is going pretty much 20 miles per hour. And if I pedal really hard, it doesn't put any more power into it. I'm in speed mode 1. Let me go in speed mode 5. Oh yeah. I'm not putting any power into the pedaling at all. I'm just rotating them. So I think it's getting a lot more power now as I rotate the pedals faster. It's not actually a torque sensor, it's a rotation sensor. It feels like it's giving it more power based on how fast I'm actually rotating the pedals, not how much power I'm pushing down the pedals with. So maybe it's only the 750 watt mid-drive motor bike that has an actual torque sensor, but this one does not feel like it has one. I've never heard of a rotational sensor, but that's what it feels like it has. And that's not great, because if you're stuck uphill and you're pushing all your power to get the pedals to turn even one rotation, it's not going to be giving you all the power like it should be, like a torque sensor would. I do love the e-bikes though, they're really fun, especially when you're using the motorcycle style throttle. Just sit back, cruising around on your bike, give it the power over here with the right twist throttle. Beautiful day. Aside from the wide tires, the efficiency of the battery, especially considering the wide tires, is really good. I'm 7.6 miles into my trip, and according to this thing, I still have full battery. So the efficiency is pretty outstanding. This would be a great commuter bike for someone that doesn't want to worry about potholes or cracks, or if the streets around where you ride are really crummy. This would be an excellent choice. All right, here's a good test of the motor. There are 1,000 watt rear hub motor scooters that can't make it up this, and they weigh less than this thing. Actually, they weigh about the same. This is kind of a torque test, I guess. I'm giving it full throttle. We're in speed mode 5. I'm not pedaling, and this is a pretty steep incline here up this freeway on-ramp. We're paralleling the freeway here. You can hear that motor slowing down. Are we gonna make it? Getting really close here. I do think we're gonna make it though. All right, we made it up the steep part, yep. Wow, the voltage sag though. Check it out, we went from full battery down to 2 bars. That is a product of voltage sag. That means our battery is either too small for the amount of amps we're pulling out of it, or they're just really low quality cells that don't have a high discharge feature. The question is, when we get to the top of this hill and we let off the throttle, is this thing gonna go back to full voltage or is it gonna stay low? We'll have to see. I will say, I do like the seat on this bike. It's pretty comfy. It's not a big, super fat, dumb looking seat, but it fits my nice big butt really well. Could you imagine if this was your commute every day and you had to pedal up like a 3-mile long hill? You'd just be so sweaty when you got home. Or you can grab an e-bike and make your life so much easier. And you can still get the exercise if you want to. I could be pedaling. I'm just testing the voltage sag on the battery, right? That's what I'm doing, yeah. All right, we're kind of back to where we started. Let's check how far the battery goes up in the battery meter when we stop here. Did we just completely slaughter it? Nope, it jumped right back up to 4 bars. Quite a bit of voltage sag. I guess the only way to really determinately tell how much battery you have is by clicking this little button in the front here, and it'll alternate between your odometer, tripometer, max speed. My max speed was 29 miles per hour, I guess. Average speed 13.7, and then it'll show your voltage. My voltage is at 48.7. Pretty low. It's around half battery. So if you keep it in the voltage mode and you keep your eye on that, that's a much better gauge of how much battery you have than this little battery bar meter in the top left. One thing I haven't showed you yet, on the top right of the suspension, you've got this little knob here. You can click it over to that way, and then the suspension is locked out. It won't compress anymore, and that makes it a lot more efficient if you're pedaling. None of the power from your pedals get absorbed by the shock, so we can keep it in the open position. Then we get full suspension. Over on the left here, it's got another dial for compression adjustment. You can increase the compression or you can decrease the amount of compression by adjusting this knob. And that just adjusts how hard it is to push the suspension down. We've got our keys over here for unlocking the battery. And on the other side is our charge port. Ooh, I guess that's another big bonus of this bike I didn't mention. It comes with a 4-amp charger, which in the e-bike market, I guess that would be considered a fast charger. You usually only see that on like the $4,000 e-scooters, but for HeyBike, it's definitely a first. At 4 amps with a 23 amp hour battery, you can get this thing charged in like 5-6 hours. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, getting our full workout in for the day. The seat height is really nice on this thing. I do like the geometry. The big fat tires make it even more comfortable. In conclusion, I think this bike is for somebody who really likes having the latest and coolest looking e-bike, and they're also a commuter. You want a long range commuter bike with comfort, and it's pretty zippy too. If you're somebody who's looking for a really aggressive e-bike that you're gonna do like hardcore torquey off-roading, get the 750 watt mid-drive motor version of this bike. It's a little more expensive, but you get more speed and 60% more torque. I really wish I had got that one for testing, but this is all they had in North America. Like I said, these things aren't even out yet, so big thanks to HeyBike for making the effort to send this thing to me in the first place. I guess a lot of people out there are watching this video thinking, is it worth the money? And I will say, if you're one of the backers on the Kickstarter campaign or the Indiegogo campaign, I'd say yeah. It feels like about a $2,800, maybe $3,200 e-bike. This is not your high-power, aggressive machine. This is just kind of a tank of a commuter. We were at 50% battery stopped, so we're probably down to like 20% battery now, 44 volts. Top speed's still 29 miles per hour with no pedaling. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Sorry I was kind of all over the map on this video. This is my first ride on the thing, and I'm just really not sure what to think about it still, but let me know what you think in the comments. But thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time for the next video.